Hey everyone, Todd Michael Putnam from D&D Creative Designs bringing you another adventure table idea. This one is the Stash of Scab. The Stash of Scab. In a previous adventure in my Borderlands campaign, which is heavily influenced by American colonial history and the Elder Scrolls series of video games, and also the old B2 Keep on the Borderland module and other things. Like we can get you all the documentation if you're interested in the backstory of my campaign. But in that campaign, the players defeated an enforcer type bad guy named Scab and his band of enforcers. And when they took him out, they discovered he had a little map that showed an X out in the forest somewhere, out in the wildlands somewhere, where it said Scabs Stash. And so apparently that was where he was keeping the bulk of his wealth. So when authorities in town would come and raid him and stuff, they wouldn't actually get any of his gold. And the players, after several adventures, have worked their way close to the spot on the map. So with that in mind, the first scene that the players will come upon is an actual lumbering facility, a lumbering operation. One of the characters had died in the previous session. Trek the Intrepid, who was a barbarian, had succumbed to his wounds and was a character death, not a player death. Good God, just a character death, fortunately. So a new character is being introduced, and the way that I'll introduce that is he is part of the lumber mining crew. He's part of the Force for Protection. When the players, and that's going to be something similar to his character, the wizard guy is going to be playing a wizard type. When the players come upon the scene around dusk or so, or right as night is falling, there's going to be cries and screams of anguish, and as the players come running towards it, they're going to see that the lumber camp is under attack from gnolls. If you read the history of gnolls at all, they're in borderland type locations. They hit like a swarm of locusts and then they leave and they attack the weak and stuff. And so that's what they're doing in this case. The whole campaign takes place on Borderlands. And so the gnolls are going to be coming in and just slashing through and beating and torturing people and killing them and maiming them, because that's what gnolls do. They're basically locusts. And the players will come upon just in time. And the new player character that's being introduced, I'm just putting him right there. He's going to be part defending it. And they're going to fight them off. And it's going to introduce an interesting dynamic into this particular adventure, which is they're going to save any number of the lumberers, the laborers. They're going to save, let's just say they save 7 of them, okay, from these gnolls. Well, they are not going to want to be this far out in the wilderness knowing the gnolls are there. And so they're going to tag along with the adventurers and offer them a bounty and say, look, for every one of us that you save, we're going to pay you X number of gold if you can get us back to town safely. But because the heroes are so close on the map to where the stash is at, they're going to want to finish that first, and they just need to keep these humans and laborers alive until they finish that one last task, because they're maybe a quarter of a mile away. And as it turns out, the lumberers are aware that there's a cave that's about a quarter of a mile away, right where the location on the map is, pretty darn close. So they're going to lead them to that because they don't want to be out here available where and weakened, where the gnolls could easily come back or another band of gnolls may be around. So in addition to just the players attempting to try and save themselves and gain the gold, they've also got sort of like a lemmings situation where they've got all these people that they need to try and save. One, just as human decency, and then two, because they're going to get paid for it. For each one that they save, they're going to get some cash. So it adds a little extra to it. So as soon as the battle is finished, they're going to grab everybody and they're going to go and they're going to head towards that cave, because they're going to want to have some place that they can be secure. They don't want to be out in the open. And when they get to the cave, there's about a 30-foot descent from natural stairs that'll bring them to this area right here. There would be the stairs going down, where it enters into the cave. They come into here, and they can rest up for a little bit. They can take a short rest here, because there's at least only one area where the gnolls can come at them from the stairs itself, if they even track them. But then, after that happens, there's this underground waterfall, and there's a rickety natural bridge that goes across to the other side. and only one person at a time can cross it, and they're going to have to make a dexterity check. It's very slippery because the waterfall is right next to it. It's constantly covered, and so it's a slick surface. And if they fail their first dex check, they fall to the point where they're hanging, and then they have to make a strength check. If they fail that one, they fall into the water, and there's a chance that they have to make strength checks each round in order to swim back 15 feet or so. If they fail, then two things happen. They'll take 1d4 drowning damage because of the torrent of the river overcomes them, and they're bashing up against rocks and stuff. And they'll move 30 feet back down this way until eventually, potentially, they get stopped in this area right here where there's like a natural cave filtering system, and they can be up against these rocks. But in any case, there are some corpses or some skeletons that are here and here for people who have apparently been in this cavern before and didn't make the crossing and died. And there's some treasure and loot that's on that. Then in another area up here, they're going to find a bronze statue of a beholder. And I've used this in one of my previous campaigns. I love it. I call it a slice of Xanathar's mind. It adds a little fun to it. And basically, it's a bronze statue of a beholder. And in the eye sockets, not the main one, but on the eye stalks, there's going to be gems that are there. And some of the gems are glowing. Since they're in this campaign, I've got 6 characters. There's going to be 6 gems that are glowing. And if you grab one of the gems and you say a slice of Xanathar's mind, which is written on the base of the statue, then a portion of the power that has been imbued in the statue from the mind of Xanathar himself, the great beholder, will focus itself, and some of that energy will go into the mind of the person that touched it. And certain things, it could be +1 to a random skill that they already have. It could be proficiency in a skill that they don't have. Or it could be they earn a random language. And I've got a small chart for that. And it's basically just a really small perk that they can get for these little statues. And there's a backstory for why these statues are being around, can be found in rare places and cases around the world. And the players will eventually discover that. But in this campaign, this is the first time that they will have seen it. Aside from that, which is in a small upper chamber, here, there's going to be a gelatinous cube that is going to be blocking the way down, the exit out. Again, probably one of the NPCs that they're trying to save might get eaten up or grabbed by the thing, and they'll have to cut him out and try and save it. Not to mention, of course, it could attack the players themselves. And they defeat the gelatinous cube. If you read them, for the most part, they're just big bags of hit points. So certainly the players should be able to work their way through it. They have the weapons and the spells and materials to do so. So it's more of a trap for the NPCs and to keep the NPCs alive, just as is the exploring of trying to get the NPCs across here. Because they're not high enough level to have fly spells or anything like that. So they're going to have to either rig a rope across to try and make it a little easier or whatever the case may be. But it's going to be that exploring challenge and the exploration with the extra care of trying to keep these common humans alive, who are not going to want to stay in this cave by itself, because even though there's only one entrance and one entrance in, if they're basically defenseless against the gnolls. If the gnolls should find them, it would be an absolute slaughter. So they're going to want to stay with the heroes. When they come into this section, they come down these stairs and into this section here. There's a new thing. There are several small holes in the wall that, unless they look for them, they won't even see them. Go Dwarven Forge. And from out of them will come scurrying Gricks, and they're going to come slither up, and they're going to attack. And the way I'm working it is the Gricks make their tentacle attack, and then they make their beak attack. If they succeed in both, then they have to make a strength check, because they're going to literally try to start dragging their victim back into one of their feeding caves, where if the players ever go back in and follow, they'll see that there are other victims' bodies who have been there. That is what the Gricks do, is as soon as they have a victim, as soon as they've got their beak into somebody, they won't do any more beak damage. They're just going to hold the person, but they'll keep slapping them with the tentacles, and there'll be strength checks for dragging them back to their cave, where they can begin feasting on them solo, because that's what they want. Going through these little small holes there is going to require the characters to get prone, and they will be at disadvantage on trying to make any of their attacks as they're laying prone. And of course, the Gricks, if they turn and let go and attack them, would be an advantage. So attempting to go and grab and save some of the NPCs, some of the laborers, could be a very dangerous thing. Do you go in after them because you don't know how deep it is? You don't know how many other Gricks might be in there. As it turns out, it will be only one Grick per cave, but they won't know that at first. And of course, every hero that leaves the main group leaves a bulk of the laborers that much less defended against potential more Grick attacks. So they have to make some moral choices. And of course, it's just the whole horror of seeing somebody dragged off screaming, and then the crunching sounds of them being eaten alive, potentially from a small nearby cave. So they will fight their way through that. Eventually, they will go through one of these openings here. They'll find one opening which is larger than the others that they can just kind of duck through. And when they go through it, unfortunately, their situation does not improve. They will come upon the Grick Alpha, which is in this cave up here. There are the bodies of a number of other humanoids that are here. Apparently, based on the equipment that they can find, old and rotting and stuff, it was a previous series of adventurers that did not make it that far, that succumbed to the Gricks and their plight to try and discover the cave, and possibly they were after Scabs Stash as well if they knew about it, or maybe they were just out randomly exploring. In any event, the Grick Alpha Mother is there, and the players will have to fight it again while keeping the rest of the players or rest of the NPCs safe. The Grick Alpha is different though. Once it kills somebody or once it grabs somebody, it keeps biting and using its tentacles. It doesn't try and drag anyone off. It wants to kill everything first and then feed later. So that's going to be a fight to the death kind of thing. And then finally, when they come down these stairs here and they go through some kind of twisty-turny caves, eventually they get to this section, which I forgot to put my ghost in there. But the ghost of Scab himself will be here. Scab having been killed by the players previously and them having taken his map, this is where his treasure is, and the spirit of Scab was not able to let go of his treasure and his need for it, and so he's stuck between this world and the next, and he will try and fight to keep his treasure and do his best. He's only one ghost though, so action economy is probably going to work against him. Certainly going to do some damage to the players, but at some point it's highly likely that Scab is going to just surrender unless the dice rolls go tremendously in his favor. And what he's going to do is he's going to try and beg to work a deal. He's going to say that even though he's dead, he's still a businessman and he wants to keep what he's got, but he knows where there's more treasure for the players than what he has that they'd never find on their own. And since he can't escape, he's basically bound to this area protecting his gold, and he certainly can't move the gold. They know that there's no point in him lying because they can just come back if he's ever lied and take it out on him. And he doesn't want that. He wants to be left alone until he's finally able to release his need for the gold. But being the kind of person he was in life, he just can't let go of the gold, even though it serves no purpose for him now. So he's going to try and beg that deal off of them. If they take it, he's going to tell them that there is a drug dealer in the keep itself who's buying off guards and giving the drugs to kids and making a whole bunch of cash, selling these drugs, pixie dust and black sludge and stuff like that have different effects, and that he was a user basically. He was a buyer from the drugs for him and his gang, and he was actually on his way the day that the characters had met Scab himself and defeated him in combat. He was on his way to this drug dealer to try and rough him up and steal the stash for himself and take over the drug operations. But obviously, since the heroes came and defeated him and killed him, that's no longer his cause. He can't do that. So he just wants to protect what he still has. He certainly doesn't owe anything to the drug dealer. So he's going to basically bargain it off that, hey, the heroes can do something great, that the gold that they're going to earn is going to be way more than what they're going to get from him, in exchange just for leaving his alone. Totally up to the players how they want to handle it. I mean, they could lie and say that they'll accept the deal and then defeat Scab afterwards. One of the priests for this, one of the clerics is for he's a grave cleric, that line between life and death. So whether or not the gods will appreciate, their god would appreciate somebody stepping across that line, making a bargain with the dead, and then breaking it There could be repercussions if they do that. Or they could just decide, I don't care. We'll search out this drug dealer for ourselves and try and find them, and not take any of the specific information, where the target is. That's however they're going to handle it. It's however they're going to handle it. But what it will give them, because the players have already told me that they absolutely want to go back to the keep, they want to go back to the town. So the next adventure will be a town campaign, a town adventure, I should say, and this will set that up perfectly for at least one portion of that first adventure when they get back, for what they can do. So that's basically it. That is Scabs Stash. Of course, all of this, I've got my little black poster board here that I go when I lay over stuff. So, for example, when you lay these things down, and then I just cover all of this stuff up so they can't see what's in each of the rooms until they get there for Fog of War. That's it. Went a little long, 15 minutes, but that is Scab Stash. Hope you enjoyed the adventure idea. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to be on board for more content. I try and produce a new video every single week, and really appreciate your feedback, and look forward to seeing you next adventure. Take care. Bye.